So good afternoon. My name is Jeff Terry. I'm the Vice President of Corporate Social Responsibility and Sustainability for GAF, which is North America's largest roofing and waterproofing manufacturer. We are here today to talk about extreme heat and the role that extreme heat plays on places and, most importantly, people. But it's not me. It's actually this esteemed group of friends, colleagues, and partners we're going to talk about this critically important issue that we're seeing kind of all over the world. So maybe as a start, Jay, I'll start with you. If I'd love for each one of you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and importantly about your organizations as well.
Thank you so much for having us here. I'm Jay Sadiq, the founder and CEO of FortiGuard. We started this technology startup almost 4 years back to solve for the challenge of urban heat. So we're building the temperature intelligence, and probably through the panel I'm going to share with you how we're building all of this stuff and how we want to introduce a lot of what we're building to different partners who are in the panel and also here with us in the room.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jay. Seth Jacobson, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Seth Jacobson, and I am the Climate Solutions Officer at Climate Resolve. We're a 15-year-old environmental NGO based in Los Angeles, and we've been leading the way on not only climate solutions, but specifically extreme heat solutions in Los Angeles and throughout California. And I'll tell you a little bit more about our work in a bit.
And lastly, Melanie Torres, would love for you to introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me here. Hello, everyone. My name is Melanie Torres. I am a community organizer with Pacoima Beautiful, and we are an environmental justice grassroots organization localized in Pacoima in Los Angeles. And we are a group of leaders, planners, and organizers, and we impact local policy and focus on beautification projects in the area.
Wonderful. Well, it is a pleasure and an honor for me to be sitting here with each one of you. Many very important partners of ours. We've done some incredible work in the greater LA area to really understand the significant impacts associated with the urban heat island effect and the role that extreme heat plays on communities and households and most importantly individuals. We'll maybe talk a little bit about that as we move forward today. But Seth, I would love to start with you and just can you share with all of us kind of what we're seeing, the dynamic that we're seeing happening around the world as it relates to extreme heat? What are the trends that we're seeing today?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. The simple truth is that with respect to extreme heat, we are going over the falls in a barrel right now. And just to give you a little bit of data from the EU's Copernicus space program, in the past 12 months, we've seen the highest global average temperature on record for any 12-month period at 1.64 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average. And more than 7,000 daily temperature records have been broken across the U.S. this summer. More than 400 monthly records and 27 all-time records also fell. And it's increasingly likely that 2024 will be the warmest year on record. And although we're not, as a planet, yet at a steady 1.5 above the pre-industrial time, if trends continue to track as they are, we'll reach that in the next 8 years. My son is 10. He will be a freshman in college, I hope, when that happens. And the kind of concerning part of all of this is that, again, the planet is changing faster than climate scientists have expected based on their model projections, which have been pretty accurate until very recently, and they're not sure why. And important for our discussion today is that one of the most worrying theories to emerge is that the Earth is losing its albedo, which is its reflectivity, because of the melting of the Arctic and Antarctic and mountain glaciers. And at least one respected climate scientist is saying that this is contributing hugely to the acceleration of global warming. And so heat waves are now commonplace globally, killing the most vulnerable, worsening inequality, and threatening the well-being of future generations. UNICEF calculates that a quarter of the world's children are already exposed to frequent heat waves, and this will rise to almost 100% by mid-century. What should be motivating us is that with every 1/10 of a degree of warming, the impacts will increase. It's already the leading cause of climate-related deaths in the United States, and it's associated with higher risk of emergency room visits for any cause, including heat-related illness, renal disease, and mental disorders. So this, I say, all while we're recognizing that this summer, when we look back, may be considered the coolest on our future record. So that's where we are.
Wow, thanks, Seth. That's some sobering statistics that you share with us. And, you know, when we see this perpetuation of heat, it really begs the question, and Jay, I'd love to get your insights into kind of, you know, where are the places that are having the greatest impacts associated with heat? Some of the work that you're doing is helping to identify and illuminate that. Can you share with us a little bit more around where are some of these important places that are having and seeing the greatest impacts?
Sure. We're looking at this from two different perspectives. One is the understanding of what heat are we solving for, and the second is data. We think that cities are hot and a lot of sustainability practices are not delivered because it's a data problem. And you know, in the world of engineering, in policy, in anything, half of the solution is understanding the problem. So he mentioned a lot of statistics that we want to really understand so we can make a lot of transformational decisions, not incremental ones, to understand how can we deploy effective solutions on the ground so we can cool down our cities. So let me start with the first perspective. There is a differentiation between the 1.5, which is the global warming rate, which if I go to any city, and I speak in a lot of different cities, the question is, our contribution to that is, you know, minimal. It could be like 0 point something% when it comes to climate change. But their responsibility to urban heat is 100%. Why? It's called urban because of urbanization. So how can we urbanize in an intelligent manner? Because we're accountable 100% to do so in an effective way, right? So this is one perspective of it. The other perspective is the data. We came into the data practice literally by coincidence at FortiGuard. And we realized that a lot of engineers wanted to understand that if I am to cool down my place or locality or bring, you know, impact to my community, where are the hotspots? And this is where we came in and we told them we are going to map urban heat at 2 meters level above the ground. We are in the US, we map the entire US down to the 10 meter square granular at FortiGuard with historical near real time and predicting with accuracy almost at 89% how the future temperature is going to look like in the next year at a very specific location. And this can introduce a lot of other things that, you know, you can engage with temperature intelligence. So not only you can build cooler cities, but also you can engage the right ecosystem partners so they can all effectively work together. Data don't lie, right? So they can all effectively translate on the climate science that is happening translate on the enhancements and the community activities that they're taking and the amazing work that you guys are doing at GIF. So GAF, so we can deliver a much more effective and cooler solutions.
Jay, I love that, and I'd love to dig in a little bit more with both of you and really talk about one of the arguments we always have together, kind of Seth, you and me, and Climate Resolve and GAF and our partners, is there's not enough resources being allocated to address extreme heat, and especially targeted at the urban heat island effect. How can we use the data, the information, the knowledge increasingly that is available to prioritize the places of where work needs to be done, whether that's on mitigation or adaptation? I'd love your perspective, both of your perspectives on that. Seth, you want to start?
Sure. So we're very fortunate to be able to live and work in California, which is not only very politically progressive, but also generally very prosperous. Although we are facing a $50 billion budget deficit right now, which is requiring some changes to our policies and funding. But it has been able to fund a great deal of data collection. The state created something called CalEnviroscreen, which takes a look at census tract level data for various factors and comes up with scores to prioritize the funding that communities will receive. They also are developing a Cal Heat score that I think will be integrated into the CalEnviroscreen tool. We use that, state agencies use that to allocate funding, the utilities use that. And Melanie was saying that her organization works with community members to teach them how to use that as well. Because to answer your question, we really need to push the knowledge to the communities so that they have agency to act. And I'll turn it over to Melanie to speak to that.
Yeah, so part of a great partnership that Pacoima Beautiful has with both Climate Resolve and GAF is the Cool Communities Project Pacoima. And this project essentially coded 10 blocks to now 18 square blocks of community streets with cooling pavement. So this pavement has capacity to reflect solar energy back into space. So our community is now facing cooler temperatures on an extreme heat day, about 3.5 degrees less. And that's surface temperature as well. So we not only did the streets, but also an elementary school top and parking lots. We've received a lot of great feedback. And a lot of my work in this project was making sure that community members knew exactly what was being invested in their community, not just looking at it as a streets project, but really educating them on the effects of extreme heat, how extreme heat feels in the body, so that they could take the correct process in mitigating hazards or risks that one feels when they're enduring heat. So as Seth mentioned, we do use a CalEnviroscreen. We use a lot of other methods and make sure every project or any information is digestible for our community members so that they're very much aware with what we're doing and how we're advocating for more in our community.
Awesome. Jay, anything you'd like to contribute?
Just to echo a lot of the stuff that they said, you know, when you look at the city, you can't really solve for urban heat just by taking a picture. You need an MRI, right? So we're at FoodGuard thinking, how can we collect urban heat data all the time and everywhere? And how can we use machine learning and AI so we can bring a lot of solutions that can enable an effective delivery of products, you know, decisions, and cooler communities. So, for instance, we had a lot of successful projects, for instance, in the Middle East, where FoodGuard started in Dubai, where our data helped engineers not only identify where are the hotspots in the city, but also how to couple all of those solutions, the selection of materiality on the ground, the right shade, the building orientation, the right selection of plants, the terrain and the water body, and effectively put them all together. That's why I call it an MRI. Put them all together to bring down the temperature between 5 and 8 degrees Celsius, right? And those are solutions, data solutions, that don't increase your budget. They just help you make an effective decision on the ground. I think what I'm really trying as well, and this is what I'm really obsessed about, is how can I bring temperature, the solution, the intelligence of temperature, to the fingertip of everyone in this room, right? Like I'm thinking, how can everyone in this room take their next walking distance for a cooler route instead of a shorter one? How can everyone in the room be able to list properties that they want to buy or rent based on microclimate conditions, right? How can this affect or be integrated into your Apple Watch, into your health application, into understanding the vulnerability that might affect your senior citizens or your children? You talked about your son, right? I am someone who suffered from urban heat when I was growing up, and it's something that almost took my life. So I also want to deliver that impact. That's why I want to see it on the fingertip of everyone's use, because it does affect people, right?
Absolutely.
And so for me, I think of it as like it's a data problem. And how can I really bring my intelligence to everyone is the challenge that I'm trying to resolve.
Yeah, no, I love it. Thank you. Thanks all three of you for that perspective. Melanie, I'd love to go a little bit deeper with you in Pacoima. And you know, we've been a guest in the Pacoima community for about 3 years now. GAF's been a guest, thanks to Pacoima Beautiful, and frankly, thanks to the residents around a collaborative approach to understanding the issue of heat, how it was impacting the residents there, that helped to inform the solutions that we brought forth to it. But I'd love for you to share a little bit of some of the impact that you've seen heat have on the residents of Pacoima, and to share some of the work, not just through our partnership, but the incredible work that Pacoima Beautiful has been doing to really help to adapt to that heat and in some cases mitigate it.
Yeah, so we are a marginalized community that suffers through the burdens of highways that hug our city. We have a lot of industrial sites in our community as well. So given all of this, the specific project that I mentioned earlier, the Cool Community Pacoima Project, this is a great solution, and a lot of people are very thankful to have, because when we're talking about extreme heat, a lot of our work is making sure that our vulnerable communities are aware of cooling centers and where to go to cool off. And because the project site is such a central area for Pacoima, it has an aquatic center and it's a park. All of these places Pacoima Beautiful has historically always participated in and been very involved with. So now that the coats have been paved, we see a lot of mobile people. We're a very mobile community, so there's a lot of mothers walking their kids to school. There's a lot of fur friends and pets that are walking along as well. So we hear a lot of great feedback from them that they're no longer feeling the scorching heat from under their shoes when they're walking the streets, as well as a dog just walking and knowing where exactly to go to cool off. We just wrapped up a climate vulnerability assessment where we included our community members to tell us exactly the impacts that they're facing. And what we learned and we discovered is that there are many local street vendors in our community who don't have a choice but to go out and work every day in order to make their livelihood. So we've provided small aids to help them endure the heat, which is called like miniature heat kits, if you will. And this was with partnership of CMO, which is the Climate Emergency Mobilization Office, as well as LA City Planning. And we continue to work with them to generally create this assessment so that we know specifically what their needs are. So a lot of that talk right now, aside from cooling pavement and cooling solutions, are tree planting and shade. So we advocate a lot for tree planting in our community. We've historically always have advocated for trees and greener areas as well.
That's great, Melanie. I think one of the reasons why we started working together kind of with Pacoima Beautiful and Climate Resolve in this Cool Community Initiative is, you know, having kind of walked around and walked the community kind of in recognizing that only about 40% of the tree wells actually had trees in them, you know, which because Pacoima can get so hot, putting saplings in kind of killed a lot of the saplings. And the resources that Pacoima was getting kind of weren't filling the need. So that made Pacoima an incredible place to partner. And really, why is GAF involved in a project like this? Well, because we make pavement coatings and we make roofs. And if you look at any satellite picture, so I'm not even going to talk about data, I'm going to talk about emotion here. If you look at a picture of any city, what do you see? You see roofs and you see roads. We just happen to be working in that place, in that space. And if we can bring technology improvements to addressing the hard spaces, as we're also thinking about the green spaces and enhancing and increasing the green spaces, we actually believe we can make a significant difference here. And I'm really thankful for the work of a partner like Pacoima Beautiful and Melanie. Specifically, you're an incredible partner. But we never would have met Pacoima Beautiful if it wasn't for Climate Resolve. So I truly believe Climate Resolve is one of the leading conservation-based organizations in the country and opportunity in the world. Tell us a little bit about what Climate Resolve is doing also to mitigate heat and certainly help communities adapt to it.
Thanks so much, Jeff. 15 years ago, our founder, our executive director, Jonathan Parfrey, was a commissioner at LADWP, and he left to start Climate Resolve to focus on local climate change solutions, which is really something that people weren't talking about then, both adaptation and mitigation. And he started with the science. So he started connecting with researchers at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, NASA JPL, USC, and UCLA, who are doing peer-reviewed research on cool surfaces, starting off with cool roofs. And he took that peer-reviewed research and translated it for policymakers. And our team led the way to establish the nation's first cool roof mandate in the city of Los Angeles, then in LA County, and ultimately to get that included in the state's building codes. From that work, within the city of LA in the last few years, there have been more than 70,000 cool roofs installed in single-family homes. After that, we started to work on implementation, working with our nonprofit partners at Habitat for Humanity, at Grid Alternatives, which provides free, no-cost solar to income-qualified homeowners, and Pacoima Beautiful to provide free cool roof retrofits with solar to income-qualified residents. We also started working with other partners to implement cool walls and working with local artists to do cool wall murals in communities, especially because Los Angeles communities and cultures have a long history of murals as an important way of communicating within the community. And so they can tell a story as well as providing cooling benefits. And then we started working with GAF and other partners to implement cool pavement projects. From that, and with our Pacoima project, and with the team from Pacoima Beautiful, we worked with a local researcher named Dr. Haider Taha, who also used to be at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab and established California's Urban Heat Island Index, to do pre and post data collection. And Melanie and our team took a golf cart and built a series of sensors to collect that data at ground level, 2 meter, or 10 meter, and I think 30 up on towers. And then Haider did that analysis and recently published in a peer-reviewed journal showing significant cooling benefits for the Pacoima community of a reduction, I think, of 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit in the air temperature during an extreme heat event, and I think it was 10 degrees Fahrenheit at land surface temperature reduction as a result of the cool pavement. So between policy, projects, and research, we recently decided to package all that together, and we raised about $1 million in seed philanthropic funding to launch a new initiative that we call Shine On. And part of that was to help connect the dots between all the researchers, private sector partners, public agencies, and other stakeholders who are doing this work nationally and aren't knowledge sharing. Because we need to move forward quickly. And the only way we can do that quickly is to do it together. So we brought together over 100 stakeholders so far, organized in 5 different working groups. And we're continuing to grow, and our philanthropic funders want us to take it not only nationally, but globally, particularly in the global South.
So there's a lot of work being done. There's a lot more work that needs to be done. Yeah. We're running short on time, so I'm just going to summarize a few things that I heard here. And before I do that, I want to thank each one of you for bringing kind of your experience, your expertise, your passion towards really helping define solutions to the extreme heat dynamic we're seeing around the world. But what I've heard today is extreme heat is a root cause of climate change, and is growing in criticality and impact because of climate change. And it's personal. I think we've heard personal stories from each one of you, like surviving kind of in a dynamic growing up from extreme heat. But it's personal. The issue is personal, but the solution is also personal. We all have a role in playing in this and what we do. And I would love one of the things, Seth, that you said too, the Earth's losing its albedo. That's a root cause of extreme heat. So these are all interconnected. We need to put more resources, we need to put more attention, and we need to develop greater collaborations around not just adapting to the changing heat dynamic in our world, but to actually mitigate it from the very beginning. So I want to thank you for the opportunity. Thank each of you for being a part of this, and appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.